There's a moment when the dark stops feeling empty, when it starts to listen. That's when we tell our stories, the ones we're not sure we should remember.
Welcome to Time Teller's Tales, Whispers in the Dark. 5 stories, each pulled from the edge of old maps and half-forgotten headlines. Some are true, some were true, and one of them isn't. We'll let you decide which. It's a game.
Yeah, it is. That's true. There's 5 stories. 4 are real, at least ish enough for folk stories. Mm-hmm. And one's completely
Based
made
on
up.
truth.
Yeah, and one's completely made up. Which also, any of them could be based on folk stories.
So a little historical fiction for y'all.
Yes.
Spooky style.
Yeah. From the burnt timbers of the Gudgeonville Bridge to the vanished crossroads of Helltown, to the road called Axe Murder Hollow, to a Florida man who loved beyond the grave.
Seriously, there's always a Florida man.
Already interrupting?
Yep, I tried.
And finally, to a frozen Pennsylvania lake where the wind still sings. These are the tales that refuse to stay quiet.
Each one begins with a rumor, a headline, a whisper carried farther than truth could run. Maybe that's why they last, because fear travels faster than facts.
That's
and
true.
Curiosities, the only light we ever really have out here.
We didn't come to prove them. We came to listen to what the woods, the water, and the silence are trying to say.
But if you listen too long, the stories start listening back. They echo the way grief does, changing shape until even memory sounds like myth.
So's the fire burns low, remember. Every legend starts with something someone swore they saw. And somewhere in these 5 tales, one story is waiting to be caught telling the truth.
Keep your blankets close, your mind open, and your matches dry. Because when the wind shifts and the crickets stop, that's when the next tale begins. Okay, campers, gather close. The night's already heavy with salt air, and the fire's got that hiss, like it knows a secret. Tonight's story is about love. Or at least something that thought it was love.
Love that rots. Love that decays. Love that digs 6 feet down and decides it isn't finished yet.
Dan, are you sure this isn't the episode you wanted to do for Valentine's Day?
No, that was better.
You really know how to kill the mood, Dan.
I try.
Yes, you do.
Hey, you picked this one, Dr. Karl Tanzler von Kozel. You said, and I quote, "Let's do something hopelessly romantic."
I didn't say necromantic. Yeah.
Picture Key West in the 1930s. A place of endless summer and slow decay. Bright paint peeling under the sun, palm fronds rattling in sea wind, and every night the same cicada lullaby. Down there, a man worked in the Marine Hospital. German accent, strange airs, called himself a count.
Spoiler, he wasn't. Not even close. But he loved pretending. Karl Tanzler, or Count von Kozel, as he liked to sign his letters, believed he was born for greatness. He said his ancestor's ghost had once shown him a vision. A dark-haired woman. The love he'd spend his life searching for.
And one day he found her. A patient. 22 years old, dying of tuberculosis. Her name was Maria Elena Milagros de Hoyos. To him, she wasn't just a woman. She was the woman. The dream. He told her so right there in her hospital bed.
Yes, imagine being sick, gasping for air, and some old man in a lab coat starts talking about fate and eternal love. She was polite, she smiled, but she never loved him.
Didn't matter. Karl decided love didn't need permission.
Red flag. Red flag. Red flag.
Tuberculosis is a patient thief. It doesn't rush, it seeps. First the lungs, then the bones, then the voice. Elena's cough echoed through those white-tiled halls like prayer unanswered. Carl promised he could save her. He brought homemade elixirs, potions of peroxide and gold dust, even an x-ray machine he'd, quote, borrowed.
He was delusional. But maybe not purely evil yet. Maybe it started as pity or obsession dressed as hope.
Or maybe it started when he realized he liked her better quiet.
She died October 25th, 1931, 22 years old. Her family grieved, but Carl planned.
He paid for her funeral, bought her a marble mausoleum, claimed he wanted her safe from the elements. He visited every night with flowers and music. He talked to her through the vault. He swore her ghost sang back.
He'd sit there under the moon for hours, violin in hand, playing love songs to the dead. And maybe that was where she should have stayed. Behind stone, behind silence. But love stories like this never stop where they should.
2 years after she died, he broke the lock. Midnight, cemetery quiet, no witnesses. He loaded her coffin onto a toy wagon, a child's red wagon, creaking through the sand.
Dragged her home like a man moving furniture.
He told people later that her spirit asked him to, that she begged him to free her from the cold.
I bet she didn't ask for what came next.
When he opened the coffin, what he saw wasn't the woman he remembered. Decay had done its work, so he went to work too.
Wax, plaster, wire. He filled her skull with rags, replaced her eyes with glass, stuffed her body with silk soaked in preservative, wrapped her in a wedding gown, perfumed her with rosewater and formalin.
He made a doll out of death, and he slept beside it for 7 years.
He danced with her, sang to her, told her stories of the stars. Neighbors said they saw him in the window, spinning with a figure in white. They just thought he was lonely.
Every night, the same ritual. He brushed her hair, what little was left. He used wire to keep her jaw from falling open. He painted her cheeks pink.
He even built a contraption, fabric tubing, wax to keep her whole. When police found it later, they didn't print the diagrams. They didn't need to.
For 7 years, he whispered to her body about eternity. For 7 years, the stench of formaldehyde seeped through the house. And for 7 years, no one knocked on his door.
Until one day, Elena's sister saw something through the window, a silhouette. A woman in a dress that looked familiar.
Inside, the smell hit first, like sweet rot and dust. The sister screamed, and there she was, Elena, sitting upright, her glass eyes staring through the years.
Carl didn't even deny it. He just smiled, like he'd been caught sneaking out of a date. He said, "I brought her back to life."
The police didn't call it a resurrection. They called it desecration.
But here's the real horror. People loved it. When the papers ran the story, crowds called him the tragic romantic. Women sent him love letters in jail.
He was released. The statute of limitations had expired. No punishment, no justice. Elena's body was reburied in an unmarked grave, and Carl made another.
Another Elena. A full-size mannequin, dressed in her clothes, her death mask molded to the face. He died alone in 1952, clutching that mannequin to his chest.
Some say the human heart can't tell the difference between love and obsession. That's a comforting lie. The heart knows, it just doesn't care.
Karl von Kozel didn't love Elena. He wanted to own her, body and silence both. He didn't resurrect her. He reduced her. He took everything she was, her laughter, her music, her voice, and replaced it with obedience.
Love doesn't dig graves open. It learns to leave them closed.
And if you ever walk past the old Key West cemetery late at night, listen. Sometimes people say they hear a violin, soft under the wind, and a woman's voice, faint but angry, saying, Leave me be and listen close. The road's narrow out there. Barely a ribbon of asphalt between trees that lean like they're listening. No signs, no lights, just a hollow that drops away into a tangle of creek, stone, and shadows. Back in the 1940s, some say earlier, a man lived there with his wife and their little girl. A quiet family. A cabin tucked back from the road where smoke drifted straight up through the hemlocks. One winter's night, the man came home late from the mill. The wind was sharp, cutting through his coat. He saw something in the window, a shape that wasn't his. And when he opened the cabin door, he found his wife's scarf on the floor and 2 sets of footprints leading out the back.
Scandal.
The papers never ran the story, not the way folks tell it, but they say he followed those prints with his axe still in his hand. He found the trail by the creek, and when the snow turned red, the prints stopped. That's where the story splits. Some say he went mad, that he turned the axe on himself when he realized what he'd done. Others say he disappeared, just vanished into the trees, and some swear he's still out there. They call it Axe Murder Hollow after that, because people who stopped along the road started telling the same thing. Engine dying for no reason, a tap on the window glass when there's nobody outside, a shadow moving between the trees, swinging something heavy that catches the moonlight. By the 1950s, the hollow was a lover's lane. Teenagers parked there, brave in the way only teenagers can be.
Can you explain that to us?
Every generation, someone dared someone else to stay the night. One story is from 1958, where a couple sat parked in a Ford Fairlane with half a tank of gas. The girl said they were listening to the radio when it went static, then silence. No wind, no crickets, just a thunk on the car roof. Then again, harder. Her boyfriend got out to look, and she never saw him again. When the police came at dawn, they found the car door open and the axe marks on the roof. 3 of them, clean as hammer blows. She left Erie the next week and never went back. They built subdivisions not far from there now. New houses, new roads. But that part of the hollow is still wild. You can drive the new lanes and see where the pavement dips, where the trees close in. And if you stop just for a minute, you'll hear it. A wind that doesn't match the weather. A low hum like someone's grinding metal on wood. And sometimes a single footstep on gravel behind you. Hunters say they've seen a man with no face, his coat torn, carrying something over his shoulder. He doesn't move fast, he just waits. And if you blink, he's gone. Locals still find axe scars in the trees down there, deep, old ones, as if someone keeps practicing. They say if you call out your name into the hollow, you'll hear it come back, but it will sound just a little different. A little angrier, a little closer. I drove through once just to see, middle of autumn, leaves the color of rust, mist thick enough to taste. I didn't stop. Not even when something flashed in my rearview mirror, something white, like a face, where the trees broke for a second. Maybe it was fog, maybe reflection, or maybe the hollow keeps its own kind of memory. There's a feeling in places like that, like grief that's been looping for decades, waiting for a voice to call it by name. And the moment you speak, it listens. So if you ever find yourself driving west of Erie and the road dips into that dark curve, keep your eyes forward. If your car stalls, don't look up. And if you hear footsteps in the leaves behind you, don't wait for the third one. You might want to pull your chair closer to the fire for this one.
Okay.
The road curves out past the cornfields, past where the street light ends, into a pocket of land that's darker than it should be. Locals called it Gudgeonville, just outside Girard, Pennsylvania. A name that sounds harmless until you hear it whispered beside a creek at midnight. There used to be a covered bridge there, built in 1868. Red boards, iron bolts, wooden ribs that echoed every footstep. For over a century, wagons rattled across, then cars, then curious kids daring each other to walk through after dark. But by the time I first saw it, or what was left of it, the bridge looked like a skeleton laid across Elk Creek. The roof sagged, the boards were gray and pitted, and something about it felt wrong. Not unsafe, just occupied. You know that hush that comes when the night is too still? That's how Gudgeonville greets you. The crickets fade, even the water sounds careful. That's when the air changes, and you start to hear stories.
Like this one?
The Headless Rider. They say, during the War of 1812, a small patrol crashed along the creek. One man was caught in an ambush, shot clean off his horse, and when his friends found him, he was missing his head.
Now he's headless?
Now, some folks claim that ever since, a horseman without a face rides that bridge on moonless nights. His boots hit the planks like thunder. Sometimes there's the flicker of a lantern bobbing along, though no one carries it. Others swear they've heard the snort of a horse right beside them, though the road's been closed for years. Then there's the story that came much later, April 1964. A little girl named Darlene was playing near the sandstone cliffs above the creek. The locals called that ledge Devil's Backbone. It's 200 feet straight down. She slipped. They say she fell so fast she didn't even scream. Her family moved away, but people swear she never left. Drivers would see a child-shaped dart across the bridge in their headlights. White dress, long hair, vanishing mid-stride. If you stand near the ravine, sometimes you hear a giggle, faint but sharp, right before the sound of someone falling through leaves and air. Once a hunter said he heard it happen and ran down the slope with a flashlight. No one there, just his footprints and one set of smaller ones, ending at the edge. Folks around Girard started leaving little ribbons tied to the trees near the bridge, blue ones, because that was her favorite color. By morning, they'd be gone. The Gudgeonville Bridge caught fire more than once. The first blaze was blamed on vandals. The second, in 2008, erased what little was left. Ash drifted downstream like black snow. After that, people thought maybe the ghost would rest. But some swear the hauntings got louder. Paranormal groups came with recorders and night vision cameras. They caught voices, not screams, not words, just one phrase whispered over and over. Even the police who patrolled the site said their radios cut out whenever they crossed the old approach road. One deputy quit after seeing a shape crouched by the embankment. Like a person made out of smoke, he said. But what gets me isn't the voices or the riders. It's the sound people forget to talk about. If you listen close, when the night is heavy and the mist is low, you can hear it. A creak. A single plank shifting in the current. Like the bridge is still trying to breathe. I've walked that creek trail in daylight. It's peaceful, pretty. The water moves like glass, and wildflowers push up through the ashes. You'd never guess what used to hang above it. But as dusk comes on, there's something else there. A pressure behind your ribs. A feeling that if you call out a name, you won't be the only one who answers. Maybe it's Darlene looking for someone to play with. Maybe it's a soldier still searching for his head. Or maybe it's the bridge itself, remembering the hundreds of feet that crossed its back and the few that never made it off. You can choose to believe it or not, but if you go out there after midnight and you hear wood creak underfoot, remember this. There is no bridge anymore. I wore my glow-in-the-dark bat socks for this one, Dan. Full commitment.
Perfect, because tonight we're rolling down a road that locals call a dozen names. Boston Township, Boston Village, Boston Mills, but the legend everybody knows is one word: Helltown. A real place with real history, emptied houses, shuttered roads, wrapped in myths about cults, ghosts, and something slithering in the weeds.
Serpents, school buses, satanic chapels. Happy Halloween! Buckle in, folks.
Let's ground it. Helltown isn't the official name. It's a nickname that's stuck to the northern part of Summit County, Ohio, especially Boston Township and Boston Village, the oldest village in the county, founded in the early 1800s along the Ohio and Erie Canal.
And then the big plot twist. In the 1970s, the federal government began buying up homes to create what became Cuyahoga Valley National Park. People were forced to sell. Houses were boarded up and roads posted or closed. To outsiders, it looked like a town evacuated overnight. Instant ghost town aesthetic.
The eerie emptiness is the seedbed for legends: a satanic church, an abandoned school bus of doomed teens, the end of the world hill on Stanford Road, and a mutant snake supposedly born from toxic dumping. The truth is messier and more interesting.
Messier truth is my favorite genre.
Yay.
Satanic church.
Legend 1, the Satanic Church, led by Papa Emeritus VII. The story says a small white chapel near the heart of Old Boston had upside-down crosses in the windows and late-night rituals. Reality check: the crosses are decorative trim, not occult symbols. And the building people point to has been a normal community church. The spooky vibe came from isolation, not rites.
Architectural gingerbread is not witchcraft, guys. It's gingerbread. Still looks deliciously ominous after dark, though.
And that's how folklore starts. A look, a rumor, and a locked door.
Legend 2. The abandoned yellow school bus. Tell me if you've heard this one. A bus takes a wrong turn in a snowstorm. Cultists ambush it. And now ghostly kids press their hands on your car window if you park nearby.
There really was a bus out there, left behind by a family when properties were acquired for the park. It became an irresistible magnet for trespassers and storytellers. The mass murder part is, well, story. The bus was eventually hauled away.
So the creepiness is real. The backstory, edited for maximum goosebumps.
Next up, Stanford Road, nicknamed the end of the world. Excuse me. You crest a hill. The road drops abruptly and dead ends near barricades. At night, it feels like the earth just stops. This place fueled stories of pursuing robed figures and cars forced off the road. Mundane truth, optical illusions, sharp grades, and posted closures. Sadly, not cultists.
But if you want that stomach drop we shouldn't be here feeling without a roller coaster, yeah, that's the hill to do it.
Here's where the legend intersects with documented history. Decreci Dump, inside the park boundary. For decades, it took industrial and municipal waste. Toxic materials were buried in unlined pits, leading to a Superfund cleanup that ran into the 2000s. Park staff even reported illness after the NPS took control and tested the site.
And that's how you get the Mutant Monster chapter. The Peninsula Python, a giant snake allegedly roaming Helltown, plus whispers that the government covered up a massive chemical disaster by buying everyone out. Great campfire material, not supported by evidence beyond the very real dump.
Real contamination, imagine serpent, but the combo of empty houses plus roadblocks plus Superfund is catnip for urban legends.
Ooh, catnip. Then there's the old Boston Cemetery. People talk about a ghost who sits on a bench waiting for a ride that never comes. Others swear they hear crying or see orbs drifting between the stones. The township and sheriff have pushed sightseers along at night. Not because of official satanic warnings, but to curb trespass and vandalism.
Moss, silence, and a century of names. Your brain does the rest. But as storytellers, we don't dismiss how places feel. The sensations are real, even if the explanations are ordinary.
Also, don't be the person who hops fences in a cemetery after midnight. The living will ticket you faster than the dead will haunt you.
Let's pull the threads together. Helltown resonates because it blends policy and myth. There's a tangible record, eminent domain and evacuations, and then an emotional vacuum where people imagine who might still be inside those boarded houses.
Plus the American Haunted Road starter pack, a creepy church, an abandoned bus, a sudden drop-off road, and toxic land. You could write a whole horror series just from that list. Call me Netflix.
Netflix. She's only half joking.
Okay, quarter joking.
Since we're in Northeast Ohio lore country, a quick neighbor legend. Gore Orphanage near Vermilion. People swear the tragic orphanage fire killed dozens, and you can still hear the children's screams on the road at night.
Historians went digging and found no evidence the orphanage ever burned or that children died in such a fire. The area did have the Light of Hope Orphanage and the Swift Mansion ruins. Over time, multiple stories fused into one mega myth. It's still one of the state's best-known haunts, even with the debunk.
It's a good reminder for Helltown, too. Fact kernels wrapped in legend cloaks.
If you're visiting the park, legally, during hours, let nature be the star. Record the ambiance. Take photos of posted history signs, and maybe save the cult chase scene for your imagination. Respect the no trespassing and roads closed signs. Also, watch that end-of-the-world hill, Gravity Works.
And if you hear soft tapping on your window, it's probably branches or Renee.
I brought a triangle for spooky underscore.
Helltown isn't a neon-haunted house on a highway. It's a shadow thrown by real events. A town partially unbuilt, then rewilded, where silence plays tricks and imagination fills rooms we can no longer enter. That's why people come back with stories, because they brought stories with them.
And on a cold Ohio night, when the fog hugs the trees on Stamford Road, you can almost believe there's a bus still parked at the edge of the woods, and a church with candlelight pulsing behind a lace-cut trim. Almost. This one's called The Frozen Choir. There's a lake east of Waterford. Small, still, and always colder than the others. Lake Pleasant, they call it. You can drive right past it on Route 8 and never notice the shimmer between the trees. But if you stop and step out when the air bites and ice is just beginning to set, you might hear something. Not wind, not wildlife. Something layered. Soft voices. The first time I heard the story, I thought it was one of those old frontier ghost tales. The kind folks make up when the winter's too long. But every version leads back to the same night, December of 1903. A traveling church choir was on its way to a revival meeting in Venango Township. 10 singers, 1 wagon, and a horse team named Glory and Faith. The storm came out of nowhere. By morning, the wagon tracks ended at the front of the frozen lake. The ice had broken, refrozen, and broken again. When spring came, they found the wagon, sunk in the shallows, hymnals bobbing against the reeds, and a single silver cross caught in the branches. They buried the singers in the graveyard down the road. But the preacher said something strange that day, he said. Their voices may rest, but the lake keeps time. Ever since locals say that when the temperature drops below 10 degrees, the lake starts to hum. Not the sharp crack of thawing ice, but a chord. Low at first, then layered, like a choir tuning up somewhere under your feet. Sometimes, if the air's right, you can make out words, hymns, and names. Sometimes even your own. Back in the 1940s, an angler named William Drennan went missing there. They found his boat frozen solid a few feet from shore. No body. But his wife said the night before he'd been muttering the line from a hymn, "Let the deep call unto me." When they pulled his boat in, the wood along the hull was covered in handprints, small ones, like from a choir of children pressing upward through the ice. After that, no one fished Lake Pleasant once it froze. They said you could still hear the choir beneath, trapped, gasping, singing just to stay warm. Kids dared each other to lie down on the ice and listen. Some came back crying. One boy in 1962 didn't come back at all. The searchers found his hat frozen to the surface, and underneath, a hollow, as if the ice had melted from below. When they pulled it up, the water was calm, silent. Then faintly, music. I went there once, just once. It was late February, no moon, the kind of cold that makes the air ring. The lake was glass, black and flawless. I stood at the edge and could see my breath curl into it. Then I heard it. Not music exactly, but notes. Soft, sad. The kind that find their way through your ribs. I thought maybe someone else was out there. A skater, maybe, or a snowmobile on the far side. But the surface was empty. Then I saw it. A faint shimmer under the ice, like candles moving in water. 10 of them, drifting in a slow circle. And beneath that, faces. They weren't clear, just outlines. But I swear one of them looked right at me. Not angry, not pleading, just waiting. I backed up, heart pounding, and the ice groaned, long and deep, like a cello. Then everything stopped. No light, no sound. Just stillness. I left, and I've never gone back. But sometimes in winter, when I drive past the tree line, my headlights catch something moving, like frost breathing against glass. And I hear the same tone, just for a second, from somewhere far off. It's beautiful, and it hurts. People who live near Lake Pleasant still talk about it. They say the thaw comes later there than anywhere else in the country. That even on mild winters, the ice never fully melts in the center. A patch stays pale and solid, shaped like a wagon wheel. And every decade or so, another sound recording turns up. Fishermen or hikers capturing something they can't explain. Always on nights when the wind's dead still. Always near the same stretch of shoreline. A faint harmony of 10 voices humming an old hymn about salvation. Only this one drifts into a minor key halfway through. A dissonance that makes your stomach drop. Like something beneath is remembering the wrong side of heaven. There are stories that warn and stories that mourn. This one does both. If you ever find yourself near Lake Pleasant in winter, don't whistle, don't hum, and for God's sake, don't sing.
Please.
Because if the frozen choir hears you, they'll want to join in, and they never stop.
Good night and stay warm. And thank you for joining us on Time Teller's Tales.
Hope you enjoyed these spooky stories for our Halloween
And
special.
which one was the fake one? Let us know, and then maybe we'll tell you someday. I said someday, not Sunday.
Bye!